Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Collage. It's Thursday, and it's that time of week where we get to meet for a full hour, trying to bring you all our fabulous topics that we have lined up for you each and every single episode. We try to bring you the best, only for the best. I'm very excited about tonight's guest because it's been approximately around 2 years since our guest was with us here on Collage. She was one of our first guests right here on the program, and I'm glad to have her back again right here on Collage. She's taught me personally a lot, and a lot of people have benefited from her knowledge and from her experience with her certain field. So I'm really looking forward to our interview for this evening with lifestyle and beauty, because lifestyle is very, very important. We don't take care of our bodies, our way of life, and of ourselves, then we'd have to suffer a lot of consequences that we try to prevent. So with us here tonight is going to be Mrs. Maria Gonet, of course a nutritional consultant, and we're going to talk a little bit about that aspect, but later on in tonight's show. So we have so much lined up for you, plus of course let's not forget all of our usual segments right here on Collage. So we're now going to go for a very short break, and we'll be right back, so stay tuned. All right, we're back right here on Collage, and of course that's our fax number and our email address. They're going to be on your screens throughout tonight's show. So if you'd like to jot them down and send us in your comments and your suggestions, please feel free to do so. Or if you have any basically questions for our guests as well, please do so. Just pop us in an email or a fax. I'd like to introduce our guest for this evening, for this week right here on Collage. As I mentioned, I'm very thrilled to have her back on the show. With us here tonight is Mrs. Maria Gonet. Mrs. Maria is a nutritional consultant, but a very unique one, not the traditional nutritional consultant. So welcome to Collage.
Thank you so much, Shema, and it's a pleasure to be here again.
Well, it's wonderful to have you back on the show, and it's been 2 years, approximately 2 years now. You were one of our very first guests right here on Collage. And I've personally learned a lot from you, whether it's from our previous interview or, our little chats that we have every now and then. And I guess, there's so much to educate people on how to become better and healthier people when it comes to whether it's their physical state of mind or their spiritual, because it all affects, I think it's all a circle. Everything affects one another. The mental and physical well-being, emotional well-being is all affected by nutrition, way of life, and etc. So just a quick reminder to our viewers, can you tell us a little bit about your strategies, basically what you use when it comes to, being a nutritional consultant?
Okay. Myself, or what I use for my patients, or both?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I believe that the main issue is diet.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately we cannot overlook this aspect no matter what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Exercise is a very important point in everyone's life, and if we do combine both, then the results are fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
We can and we should look into prevention rather than cure, because prevention is has tremendous value.
Of course.
I believe that the biggest value in our life is our health. And how we go about it reflects greatly on it. A lot of people nowadays are not enjoying good health due to environmental problems, environmental pollution in our food, stress, physical stress, emotional stress. Many people say, well, we are stressed out, we are overworked, we are tired, but there are remedies for all of those problems. Actually, I have the pleasure tonight to introduce people to one of the products which I landed recently on that may help a lot of people combat stress.
And the current problems of life.
And the current problems of life. Combat stress, combat overweight, problem with overweight, problem with many different diseases. As a preventive measure.
As a preventive measure.
Yes.
That's the thing. I think people should really focus on, okay, let's not reach a stage when we're doing something wrong. And we know we're doing it wrong. I mean, we don't think before we eat something or before we live a certain lifestyle. And then we just, get shocked that your body starts falling apart. And it's calling for help. It's telling you you're doing something wrong, So that's when people start waking up a little bit. And, and unfortunately, some don't even realize where they're going wrong and don't change any part of their lifestyle. Therefore, they will remain sick and they will establish more and more other conditions.
Unfortunately, we are habitual beings, and it's so difficult to change certain habits. However, more and more people are being aware that there is simply no other way. We can try to find easy answers. We all fall for easy answers, like swallowing a pill and hoping to get well. But if we do not go to the core of the problem and do not remove it, we will not be healed.
Of course, that's true. And also, Mrs. Ghana, part of your strategy is you believe in all natural.
Right.
Everything that we need, God has created for us from Mother Nature.
Correct.
So that is when it comes to either a lifestyle or in cases as well for cures to a lot of conditions.
Correct. Yes. I believe that we were given immune system to heal ourselves, and if we do support it, we can heal many different problems without side effects. And we were given wonderful bodies. If we do maintain it, if we take care of it, it will last us a long, long time. Unfortunately, what I see around me, many children get sick in an early age from overdose of antibiotics, from overdose of drugs, or improper nutrition, lack of exercise, lack of fresh air, and it carries on through a lifetime. Parents cannot enjoy healthy children, they cannot enjoy raising healthy future generation because of health problems.
Right.
All of it can be avoided.
And if they think about it, I think a little bit, they would notice, okay, errors when it comes to their lifestyle, if it's exercise, if it's taking the children to play outdoors more to get fresh air, to get a lot of oxygen into their system, all of that. So, I think it's a lot of things, and it all goes back to your lifestyle, and it's definitely something that we're all doing wrong.
Correct. So, perhaps not all, but many of us, yes, most of us. However, as I told you before, more and more people are starting to be aware, and they are trying to make changes, and they are starting to understand that we cannot live without exercise, we cannot live without physical activity, and what we put in, we get out.
Of course, that's true. Well, we'll have more to talk about, so much more to talk about with you tonight. It's always very enjoyable to talk with you about all of your wonderful ideas and concepts, and I know, your experience with this topic has helped a lot of people and in changing their lifestyles in general. I know a lot of people have been very grateful to the way you've transformed their lives.
My pleasure.
And today we're going to talk a little bit about one of the very important points that we have mentioned, which is oxygen.
Right.
So we'll leave that. But right now we're going to go to our social segments right here on Collage. Each and every week we have a certain question that we ask our dear viewers. This week it is, what do you think of private tutoring? So let's go and see what your answers were.
Well, Shayma, this week's topic is about children. You probably realize that a lot of children are getting private lessons and private tutoring. Let's see what people here thought about that topic.
I think it's good for children to have private grades, and it's good.
In my opinion, the private lessons for children or for girls and boys help us to know more about their lessons that they listen in their schools, and help us to know more about these lessons that they can't understand inside the class. Okay, because the class in schools here in Kuwait more crowded with pupils, okay, and girls, and they must know about their lessons more and more. Okay, a pupil can't understand in his class, so he needs for these private lessons. Here or his parents tell the teacher that he must give the boy or the girl more time to make the pupil or the girl understand these lessons that he can't understand inside the class.
Well, it's not good, because it will give some chances for some students to understand the subject more than the others. This is one. Second thing, some of their parents, they don't have money. They cannot offer to get or to hire some teacher to give their chance to study. This is the second thing. Third thing, we see these things, it's coming from the early stages, like in lower stages in the high school. They start teaching their children by some professional teachers, and they start asking for more money, and it's not good. It's not fair for the people to have such a bad habit, or we call it it's some new habits for this society or for this country even.
It's actually it's very bad. That's if all the time I'm just want the teachers come to my house and they teach my children, and I just forget to teach my children about their lesson, what they are taking in the school. But also it's good things on the other side that I'm trying to help my child or my children's for good marks, take the good marks, or to be the best students in the class. But I told something. This thing it was not happening before the occupation. After the liberations, this thing happened according, maybe because of some teachers. I mean, I'm talking about my teacher before 1960 or 70. We have a good teachers. But after the liberation, sorry to say this, we have some not qualified teachers for some lessons. So this is why the students they need more lessons. They need more qualified teachers to teach them the new classes.
I agree with it if needed. Sometimes it's good and sometimes bad. Some subjects we need private lessons, like physics, chemistry, physics and chemistry, biology. But English or Arabic we don't need.
And those were our answers for today's question. In my opinion, it's really up to the parents to really judge if that child needs private lessons or not. Now back to you, Shaima.
Okay, we're back, dear viewers, and of course that was the general outlook on private tutoring or private lessons, however you'd like to, refer to them. I don't know, Maria, what do you think, personally, on a personal note?
About tutoring?
Private tutoring.
I believe there is not much room in my concept of education for private tutoring. I believe children should be taught in school and understand. However, there is a lot of room for parents' input. I have raised my 2 children quite successfully, and we monitored their studies. We made a specific plan for studies, and we give our children a hand when they did not understand certain topics, because on occasion children would not understand, for example, mathematics or physics, or then they need to have someone to assist them. I never had to use private tutoring for my children. I do not believe it's needed.
Okay, excellent. Well, that's my opinion too. Although I have to be very, in the middle. I usually act like Switzerland here, but no, I do have an opinion on quite a lot of things, and I do express them. But one thing which I never believed in, because I went through it for a little bit when I lived abroad, and they tell you have to take it. I'm like, but I don't understand why. You have your books and you have the teacher, and you should be able to learn all by yourself. But apparently, just some people are very based on it, and it becomes like an unwritten rule where yes, you need to take private tuition, and I just don't like it very much. Private tutoring. So I personally don't believe it's a wonderful way to raise children, because they become dependent on other people and not on themselves to get the education that they should get, or work their brains at least. Well, back to working brains. Brains need energy and need fuel, and that's what we're talking about here today. And we were saying about basically lifestyles and all of that, and we said we were going to talk about something that is very important, and that is a problem with all of us, because we all need a certain element in order to live, which is basically the air we breathe, and that is the oxygen from the air we breathe. So I believe that recently you have stumbled on something that is a revolutionary breakthrough, if you'd like to call it that.
Fantastic, yes. It's a basic element.
Tell us a little bit more about that.
I'm sorry for interruption.
No, go ahead.
Because I do design specific programs, nutritional programs for my clients, I found out with many of my clients that they do have some problem in implementing the programs because they lack energy.
Right.
In many cases they lack energy. Now on my last visit to Canada, I have discovered an aerobic oxygen which helps a lot in addressing this kind of problem.
Which is fatigue?
Which is fatigue, stress, and lack of energy. I find this to be a fantastic product. I use it as a supplement, not as a drug, not as a medicine, not to replace your medical advice or your medicine. However, it helps a lot in many ways, in many aspects of our life, as well as ill health. It is stabilized form of oxygen. Actually, I would like to read few sentences from the brochure which I prepared, so some of the vital information does not escape us, and people will be able to get better education. We get fantastic results, and it is very easy to use. I can show you a little bottle which is portable, and actually you can carry it in your purse.
And it's a liquid form.
It's a liquid form of oxygen, right. This is aerobic oxygen, has been stabilized in a non-toxic liquid form exclusively by a Canadian manufacturer. Oxygen is a breath of life, and every day we are being deprived of it. A respected nutritional researcher, Dr. Stephen Levin, has stated that we can look at oxygen deficiency as the single greatest cause of all disease. Lack of oxygen strangles the immune system. Besides being a life giver, oxygen also selectively kills harmful anaerobic infectious bacteria.
So it can work like an antibiotic.
Exactly. Unlike drugs and antibiotics, oxygen does not harm the beneficial bacteria, which is essential for good health, like acidophilus, which is essential for essential in your stomach digestion for digestive purposes. The destruction of the beneficial intestinal bacteria is one of the greatest causes of ill health. The initial symptoms of oxygen deficiency are as follows. Overall body weakness, muscle aches, circulatory problems, memory loss, poor digestion, bronchial problems, bacterial, viral, and parasitic infection, lowered immunity to colds, flu, and infections that a lot of people experience, depression, dizziness, fatigue, acid stomach, and irritability. It is specifically recommended in hot weather countries due to air being depleted of oxygen.
It's true, and the hotter it gets.
Yes. Actually, we are spending a lot of time indoors, and that depletes us of oxygen. In our atmosphere, there is not enough oxygen as it is. Plus, we're spending a lot of time indoors, and even if we go outdoors for short periods of time, we do not inhale enough oxygen. Now, we are used to getting oxygen by breathing process. This is a different way by digestive tracts. You can also receive oxygen.
Get the oxygen as well.
Exactly. By taking on an average 20 drops 3 times a day, I'm saying on an average, this is for an average person, not for children. Children depending on body weight. People have reported benefits in the following areas: weight control and weight loss. This is a big problem in Kuwait, and oxygen can greatly assist in weight loss and weight control due to enhancing the metabolism of
the person's system.
The person's system, metabolic functions, so you metabolize your food much better.
In a better way.
Yes.
That's true.
Oxygen is needed by every cell of our body. Actually, also for energy production. You need oxygen
to rejuvenate as well.
To rejuvenate, of course. And when cell does not get enough oxygen, it resorts to different ways of getting energy, and one of them is fermentation of sugar. And that in turn leads to deterioration of cell, which causes illness, causes all kinds of illnesses in the system. So if you do have enough oxygen in the system, that protects you from problems, from health problems, as well as it gives you enough energy to exercise and to be interested in your body, to be interested in your health.
I'm sure. So that's like the one of the main things, of course, not only, as you mentioned, I mean, being let's say, low on oxygen as your system, that's basically the essence of life. You know, you need oxygen to live.
It's one of the main elements.
Exactly.
Of life.
So you need it for basically all the aspects when it comes to your body. You know, and I think just before, just a little interruption here. You know, a lot of things when people do complain about is lack of oxygen, or they always feel lousy or fatigue, or they don't want to move, or they just don't feel like it, and you know, you feel that something's wrong. You know, some people just and then a lot of people do suffer, end up getting into a state of depression due to their lack of exercise, and as people have discovered right now, lack of oxygen as well, because you're not receiving the proper amount of air and oxygen in your system, you're not exercising, you're not leading a healthy life. Therefore, you will get depressed, because depression is also influenced by your nutrition. Your psychological well-being is it's based on your nutrition and your lifestyle. So I guess that's one of the main things that a lot of people complain about, especially here in Kuwait. And well, let's not say there isn't enough oxygen in the air, but because there isn't. I mean, due to Kuwait being a hot country, it's a lot greener than what it
Right,
used to,
right.
but it's
It's
still
much better.
it's still not a very green country either. So and that's where usually you get your oxygen from a lot of green. You know, when you have a lot of greens, you get a lot of oxygen.
We also have polluted air.
And polluted air, let's not forget. I think that's
So
a worldwide problem right now.
Mhm.
But
Oxygen also contributes to detoxification of the system.
Mhm.
If you have enough oxygen, then you do not have we all have bacteria, viruses, parasites in our system.
Mhm.
But in the well-oxygenated body, they do not thrive.
right.
They do not have a chance to destroy
Mhm.
your system
Mhm.
or a chance to live and spread.
Mhm.
Doctors use oxygen for different purposes.
Mhm.
Little children, prematurely born,
Mhm.
are put in incubators to provide oxygen, sufficient amount of oxygen, so it destroys the bacteria.
That's
Because the weak system cannot support,
Mhm.
cannot fight the bacteria. The immune system is still too weak.
That's
Therefore, if you put a child in an incubator
Mhm.
that provides oxygen, that oxygen eliminates bacteria.
That's true. Well, that's wonderful. Before we move on, because I want to take like each step in depth, because
Okay.
of course, as we know, this is something that is wonderful, and it's provided right now, and I think it's a wonderful concept that people should start. I think we want to take it a little bit more in depth, so people can know exactly what we're talking about and think about it a little bit. And of course, very grateful that such a product is available at the moment. But to explain it in depth, we're going to go for a little break with our medical segment. Now, this is unfortunately, we try our very best to prevent such a thing. But for this week, we're actually taking you to a very beautiful country. Our medical segment this week comes to you from the German Diagnostic Center, or clinic, sorry. So it's a German diagnostic clinic, and that is in Wiesbaden in Germany. It's a beautiful place, it's a wonderful place, and we know a lot of people right now are going to basically hospitals and clinics, especially in Germany. It has become a hotspot for medication at the moment due to their various ways and their basically it's highly in technological medical ways that they have there available in Germany. So right now we're going to go and take a closer look at the German Diagnostic Clinic in Wiesbaden, Germany.
The DKD, which means German Diagnostic Clinic, is a traditional institution that has been founded in 1969. And the initial concept is to put together all the disciplines in medicine, operative and non-operative, under one roof. So if the patient comes in, we identify the major problem, and then one of the specialists becomes, so to say, the elected specialist in charge. And he is guiding the diagnostic and the therapeutic process. And with the fact that we do have all the disciplines, the neighbor disciplines, under one roof, this is quite easy to get even very difficult and complicated problems solved within an appropriate time. We have 35,000 patient contacts per year. 5,000 of those patients get an operation. 20,000 are pure on an ambulatory outpatient basis, and the rest is partial inpatient subjects that live in a hotel and get the diagnostic problem solved in our environment of a big clinic. But the trick of the whole organization is that we have only a limited number of beds, so we solve complicated problems without being an ordinary hospital.
All right, we're back, and of course that was our medical segment for you for this week, and a little bit of a twist there for you. This came to you from Wiesbaden, Germany, and of course that was the German Diagnostic Clinic at Wiesbaden. So, you know, Maria, we were talking, and the thing is, you know, when it comes to one thing I've noticed Europe, and we're just in Germany at the moment talking about Germany and you know, where we got our medical report from for this week. But people do, it's a lifestyle, you see. And unfortunately, when you look at Europe in general, you know, I won't even take the United States into consideration, but Europe and maybe other countries, but because Europe is blessed with a lot of green, and people walk a lot.
Correct.
They walk like I have never seen people walk like that before in my life, you know. Even if they're not healthy people and they do everything wrong, but they walk a lot. They have the energy to walk day in and day out for hours and hours, and that's their lifestyle, you know. Unlike us here, we take the car to go to the grocery store at the end of the street, which is, you know, become a lifestyle. You don't see a lot of that taking place. People don't walk for exercise, let's say in Europe. They walk for just because they get from one place, that's their means of transportation, by walking or just enjoying maybe the outdoors and walking, whether taking a walk with their friends or their families or just getting from one place to another. Now, that, of course, gives them a lot of oxygen.
Exactly. Physical activity provides oxygen. And after a good workout, we feel much more relaxed and much less stressed out because we have much more oxygen in our system. So all this is interrelated.
It's all related.
And I am actually fascinated by the product which I just brought into Kuwait. And I'm amazed that Kuwait was not introduced to this product before, because it has been around in Canada for quite some time, and many people benefited from it. Many people with different conditions benefited from it, and I have hundreds of testimonials from different people with different diseases, how this product has helped them in many different areas.
Right.
I would like I stopped at weight control because I feel this is
very
a problem,
important,
very important, and the problem here. And oxygen helps a lot. But I would like to continue weight loss and control, beauty aid, angina attacks, bronchial infections, fibromyalgia, epilepsy and Alzheimer's, candida and yeast infections that are quite common, chronic fatigue syndrome, asthma and emphysema, sinus infections, poor circulation, energy level, joint pain, headaches, prostate problems, bladder infections, and so on. Aerobic oxygen acts the same as antibiotic, but with no side effects, because as I mentioned before, it does not kill the friendly bacteria.
The good bacteria.
It has a way of dealing only with the bacteria that is harmful for us, and is actually one of very few products, actually is the only one that does not destroy the friendly bacteria.
Right, because once again we'd like to remind our viewers that this is a dietary supplement. It is natural, you know, so it's a natural dietary supplement. It's not a medication or a drug as we refer to it, you know, and it's a dietary supplement that has helped people in the symptoms that we have just, or the conditions that we've just mentioned.
Exactly, by building up your own immune system and helping deal with the problem that way.
Of course. Yes. And if you as you mentioned, of course, now we know that a lot of, let's say you've mentioned yeast infections, bladder infections, a lot of infections. Of course, these are all due to bacteria or viruses or whatever.
Of course.
Now, so the thing is, even when you go and take antibiotics, you know, they tell you, okay, well, this is for this and that's for that. And now with this supplement, with the aerobic oxygen, it helps with any kind.
Any kind, of course.
Okay.
Because you oxygenate the system.
So it helps clean itself up.
Exactly. Also speeds up metabolism and detoxification of the system. So when you are detoxified, your body functions better. Your kidney works better, your liver.
Of course.
There are many applications of the use of aerobic oxygen, the major areas of its application is to kill off harmful organisms. And at the same time increase the concentration of oxygen in your system. Most of us are depleted of oxygen. Now, what can you use this oxygen for? For purification of fluids also. Like if you add 5 drops for 8-ounce glass of water, you kill harmful bacteria. If you travel to different places where you are not so sure of what you're drinking, being a juice or water, you can put 5 drops into your drink, and that kills harmful bacteria. I use on my toothbrush, not only I, but many of my clients and my children, that kills bacteria that causes cavities. If you deal with this kind of bacteria, only by using 2 or 3 drops on your toothbrush, you can use toothpaste on top of it, or I use just the oxygen itself, and I use it 3 times per day. But it's not necessary to use it 3 times per day. You can use it. You can use You can use it 2 or 3 times. Now, I introduced my children to using oxygen on their toothbrushes, and they do not have any cavities, which is a fantastic result. And you don't really have to visit your dentist.
Of course.
Many people also reported the removal of plaque. They did not have a buildup of plaque due to the use of oxygen. So they did not have to go for cleaning of the teeth.
As well. So as we can see, a lot of brilliant effects, and that has helped people in so many conditions. We're going to go for a short break, and we'll be right back to talk more, so stay tuned. Okay, we're back once again, and Maria, we were talking about the different uses for the oxygen supplement, or the aerobic oxygen as it's called. So basically, we see that it affects so many things, and that means, well, which is, I think, the full understanding of everyone out there, is that you live on oxygen. You need oxygen for various aspects of your life and of your bodily functions, the rejuvenation of your cells, to keep your body clean and detoxified, in order to detoxify your bodies. I'll put it, that's a simpler way of saying it. So there's so many uses of oxygen. Now, out of pure curiosity, let's say right now I'm a very lazy person. I suffer from fatigue, etc., etc., etc. But then I started trying to become a healthier person, eat a balanced diet, where good nutrition, so getting good nutrition, getting a sufficient amount of exercise per day, let's say, whatever, if it's half an hour, an hour per day, whatever it is, depends on the person. And I'm still taking, and what helped me, let's say, get that energy was taking the oxygen supplement. Now, I'd be exposing myself to more oxygen now, right? I'm getting more oxygen into my system. Is there, can you ever overdose on oxygen?
That's a very good question. Yes, you can ingest more oxygen than your body needs, but your body will dispose of it. Actually, when you do take more oxygen than your body utilizes, you will have loose stool. Therefore, you can have you can cut down on the use of oxygen, or
oxygen.
That's right, or you can stay with the amount which you are taking, due to the fact that your body may be just cleansing itself. So you allow it to have loose stool for 2 or 3 days, and get rid of the toxic matter that has been accumulated in it. And then if it still persists, if the loose stool still persists, then you have to cut down on it.
Right.
But it is non-toxic, stabilized form of oxygen. What I mean by stabilized is that it stays in a cell and is utilized by the cell in the amount the cell requires. Any excess amount is disposed.
Okay.
Therefore, it does not accumulate.
Right. It has no side effects
No
whatsoever.
side effects whatsoever.
Okay.
And it's fantastic. It's portable. It's so easy to use. And actually, a person should start by using oxygen, start making changes into the lifestyle, because this will give much more energy than previously experienced, and probably raise interest in lifestyle and in learning different ways of dealing with either a problem or maintenance of the system.
Okay, so that's wonderful. So as you said, okay, now if I'm taking excess, if I was a regular person, lazy, I took the oxygen, it gave me a boost of energy to, let's say,
you would love
make
to
a better, make a better life for myself, and I end up getting that. And any excess you will tell, basically, but it has no harm. The only thing is that you might just get loose stool, and if it continues, then you cut down on the amount you're taking of the supplement itself.
Correct.
Okay. Yes. Now another thing is because that's something, of course, that you tell people, because you know, of course, each person, even as your you know, the way you consult when it comes to nutrition, each person has a different, I mean, what would go for you, because you know, all of these diets you see that are going around, they tell you, oh, this diet is revolutionary and you should try it. I think I've tried every single diet that has ever existed, okay?
Yes.
And they just don't work. What might work for me will not work for someone else because of your system, you know?
Yeah.
So basically, what you do is you focus on the people, the conditions they have, what kind of person they are, and on that, you know, let's say, for instance, you can suggest more or less of
correct.
the drops.
Yes,
okay.
correct, yes.
Okay.
But there is an average way a person can use this oxygen and see how they can adjust to themselves. Of course, someone who has cancer needs to take more than an average person.
Right.
A child needs to take less than an average person because of body weight. However, under certain circumstances, when a child is sick, has influenza or any kind of problem, then he or she has to take a little bit more. Oxygen can be also used for maintenance and health support. We can use 10 drops 3 times per day for health support. For athletic training, it gives you more energy so you can exercise and train. Recommended dosage is 20 to 30 drops 3 times per day. For energy and stamina and ill health is about 20 drops, also for the skin. Now, and for teeth, and of course children. Now, I would like to tell you how I use this oxygen since I have discovered it.
Wonderful.
It gives me tremendous benefits because I travel quite frequently to Canada and I am not tired. Also, I do not experience jet lag. I adjust very well by taking oxygen. I take 20 drops after my breakfast or before my breakfast in the morning to give me more energy. Before I go to my yoga classes, I want to have more energy, I use it as well. Sometimes I use 3 times per day, sometimes once or twice, but it doesn't really matter, depending on how I feel. If I need more energy, I use more often. I use on my toothbrush, and I have no problems with my teeth, also my gums. I visited my dentist quite some time ago, and she was of an opinion that I will have problem with my gums, and she didn't have any recommendation for the prevention of it. Now, since I started using aerobic oxygen and I brush quite well, I brush my gums and I brush my teeth, I have no problems with my gums. I also use in my cream. I use very simple cream, which I bring from Canada. It's herbal. No chemicals, and I add oxygen drops to it, so it can be also used as beauty aid.
As a beauty aid.
Of course, it's fantastic.
It's a revolutionary breakthrough, as we mentioned, and what we're talking about today is all, of course, medically based on our system and our lifestyles. Unfortunately, we have completely run out of time. You know, like I'm getting, you know, yelling in my ears right now. But of course, if anybody has any questions or any comments, they can always email you. We'll have your email address
Most welcome.
for our viewers, or they can just email us or fax us and we'll pass them on to you. But it has been wonderful to have you on our show again.
My pleasure.
Of course, we always learn from you know, your wonderful experience and all of your you know, advice that you have for us. And you know, we'd like to thank you one more time for being a guest on our show.
Thank you so much, Shema. It's my pleasure.
Thank you.
And if people can benefit from it, I'll be so happy.
I'm sure. Once again, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, dear viewers, we'd like to thank Mrs. Maria Gonet, a nutritional consultant, for being our guest for this evening. If you have any questions for her, or if you'd like to get more information, you can always email us or fax us, and we'll give you all the information required. We're now going to move on right here on Collage to where to go in our beloved Kuwait, right here in Kuwait. People are getting out more often. There's a lot of vacations and holidays and little bits and pieces taking place right here. I know that. So it's that time of the year where families will get together and have a great time. And we're now taking you to a really nice place, and it's the Little Forest. So stay tuned. Good evening, ladies, and welcome to this week's episode of Collage. I'm your host, Shema Amin, and of course I'd like to welcome you all. I'd like to thank you all for all the feedback I've been getting. We are coming to you live from Ministry of Information, KTV2, Studio 80. And yes, I'm reminding you once more that we are live throughout the full show. We're going to be with you for a full hour with great segments lined up for you. So you can always call in whenever you please. You can call in. I'm going to run down what we have lined up for you for today. Of course, we actually had an Outlook report. Now this week we will not have an Outlook report for you, but we have great segments lined up. We're going to focus more tonight on the Q&A segment because I have been neglecting it for the past 2 weeks, but I have received plenty of emails that we would like to actually answer or talk about tonight. And of course, it's another thank you once again for all of you who sent in their feedback or any questions regarding our show. And now that's one thing. So we do apologize. We will not have our Outlook report today, but we do guarantee that we're going to have a great report lined up for you next week from Strands on the latest haircuts and the latest hair colors. So that's next week. Now this week we're going to have, as usual, our live interview, and our guest is with us here in the studio. I'm going to mention her later on. And of course we have our exercise segment with Ray. That's your personal trainer, Coach Ray. He's going to be giving us a few helpful tips as usual on great exercises that do not take time, just basically a few minutes a day, just to fit it into your busy schedules. We all know everyone's busy, we're all busy, but we're trying to fit in a little bit of exercise a day for you. So that's with your personal instructor, Ray. And of course we have the cooking segment for you. It's quite long today, but believe me, the dish is delicious. It's actually tonight we have a warm salad for you, and it's duck and mushrooms. So looking forward to that. Of course, both our exercise and cooking segments are compliments from Le Méridien Kuwait. That's Le Méridien Hotel Kuwait. It's compliments from them. They've been very kind. We've been shooting there, and they have been very helpful. So that's for two of our segments today. And of course, we have our live makeup segment. Of course, our professional makeup artist, Vimy, is going to be here with us tonight, as every week. And we'll be discussing, I won't really tell you, I'll just have Vimy tell you what we're going to be discussing tonight. And that's basically it. Of course, it's Q&A. We're going to be reading emails, and we're going to be reading them to you. We're going to be telling you what can be done, giving you answers, or we're going to tell you, that we'll email you later on with the information requested from you. And of course, our telephones are on your screens right now. They're scrolling as I speak. Please feel free to pick up the phone and call us anytime during the show. And now I don't want to keep my guests waiting any longer. Our guest for this evening is very special. Our guest for this evening is Mrs. Maria Gonet. Mrs. Maria is a nutritionist, but not any kind of nutritionist. Mrs. Maria truly believes in healing with nature. So today we're going to have an interview, a very interesting interview, going back to Mother Nature. Mrs. Maria, good evening.
Good evening. I thank you very much, Shema, for this wonderful introduction.
Thank you for being with us.
And I want to say very good evening to all our listeners and viewers, and a special good evening to my clients who most probably watch us this evening. And it is a great pleasure.
Well, Mrs. Maria, you know, the topic today, going back to Mother Nature, you know, all of this is beautiful, and we need hours and hours to speak about it, but unfortunately we don't have much time. But basically, what are your beliefs, and why did you choose to pursue a career in healing by nature?
I like always to say after Prophet Muhammad, who said in Quran, stomach is the house of all the diseases and diet is number one remedy. Now this implies that because diet is number one remedy, wrong diet causes a lot of diseases, and this is definitely the truth. Also, I would like to read to you definition of a disease by Hippocrates, who was the father of modern medicine, and he said, I find diseases are crises of purification, of toxic elimination. Symptoms are the natural defenses of the body. All diseases are but one. Their cause is also but one. They manifest themselves by means of different symptoms according to the location in which they appear. Hippocrates, 460 BC.
Wow, that's such a long time ago.
Such a long time ago.
Mrs. Maria, actually, so basically what this means is that all the diseases that we get are due to our wrong diets and due to basically that we intoxicate ourselves with the wrong food, with chemicals, with we're actually not going back to nature anymore.
This is very much the truth. I have a friend who is a biochemist, and he is living here in Kuwait, and he always reminds me that we would not have any diseases if we had pure blood, if our blood was clean. But unfortunately, as we grow older, we accumulate more and more molecules of protein and more toxicity in our blood, and that does not nourish the system very well. So we slowly suffocate.
Okay. Now, Mrs. Maria, going back to you a little bit and your beliefs. Now, who is your mentor? Who is the person that you actually admire his work and admire what he's done? And who did you actually learn most from when it comes to nature and natural remedies?
A great person whom I admire very much is Dr. Vogel. Actually, he already passed away at the age of 100 in his sleep, quietly, without any diseases. That's a natural death. And he advocated natural cures. And this is what he said. I am firmly convinced that despite the great achievements and advancement of modern medical science, we ourselves, even with the most sophisticated medical equipment, cannot do the healing. Only nature can heal and cure. We can only help and support its laws that make a cure possible.
Well, Mrs. Maria, I believe when I paid you a visit at your office, I saw Dr. Vogel's book, and it was a gigantic book, and I'd like to mention it to our dear ladies and our dear viewers that are watching right now, that he wrote the book at the age of 88 years old.
That's exactly true.
So he was perfectly normal.
Capable.
He was not senile.
His
His mind was functioning, and he managed to write. It's really thick. The book is humongous, and it's all about natural remedies in them.
I'm sorry for interruptions, but I think it's all his life's work. He worked very hard at trying to educate the people that only nature can support their system, and unfortunately we undermine our immune system so badly that it gives in, and it gives quite often, and it gives us a lot of trouble as far as our health is concerned.
So basically what's happening right now is that we're not giving our immunity system a chance. The minute we feel sick or the minute we feel something's wrong, we just go ahead and take so much pills and so much medication that, you know, in time, your immunity system loses its function, it loses its work. Is that true?
That's true. That's very true, yes. We need to actually support our system by proper nutrition, by exercise, by proper breathing, so enough oxygen enters our system, and the healing is actually done by our system. For example, if you cut yourself, even small cut or bigger cut, it doesn't really matter, but it heals by itself. All you need to do is disinfect it, and the healing will take place. So it doesn't take, the miracle is done by our system. This is instilled in us by God, by superior being.
Right. Now, Mrs. Munir, another thing, now this was also a lot of people's beliefs on cases like this, or on the way we live, our lifestyle right now as humans, as all of the world. Not a lot of people are living a natural life. Very few, I can't say everyone, but very few are living a natural life. We're all submitted to, on a day-to-day basis, we're all submitted to pollution, we're submitted to other outer effects, outside effects from our environment, but also we tend to intoxicate our bodies with things, with our regular food, with our regular nutrition, and maybe not a lot of people know that they're doing a lot of damage to their body. Plus medication, as you mentioned before, medication does not cure, it suppresses. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Actually, as human beings, we have certain belief system, and which prevent us from leading healthy lives. We are also habitual beings. We habitual thinkers and habitual doers. A habit prevents us from fast changes, and we actually argue very often for not being able to change. Very often you hear people who smoke, when you advise them to stop smoking, they will say, but other people smoke more, or my grandmother or grandfather smoked all their lives and they lived to be 100 years of age. So they continuously find excuses. And this is actually detrimental to themselves, not anyone else. And because it is so difficult to change the habit, we go for easy way out. And swallowing a pill is definitely much easier than changing the long-standing habits. It does not cure us, but we hope it will, and therefore sometimes we don't want to face the truth because it requires a change. And as I said, the change is difficult.
Right. Well, I'd like to remind our dear ladies and our dear viewers that we are coming to you live, and with us tonight is Mrs. Maria Gonet, and we're talking about going back to nature, whether it's in our lifestyles, whether it's in our food, even in our medication. You can use natural remedies to cure and heal yourself. But I'm just going to put our phone numbers once again. If you have any questions, please feel free to call in, and they're going to be on your screens any minute. And we're going to go for a very short break, and we'll be right back. We're back once again, dear ladies, and as a reminder, with us tonight is a very special guest, Mrs. Maria Gonet, and we are discussing going back to nature in order of healing and living a healthy lifestyle. Now, Mrs. Maria, as we were just talking, we are talking about natural things. We have just spoken about how medication does not heal, does not cure, it just suppresses your symptoms, right? And the only way you can actually heal is by helping your body to heal itself. Now, why don't we actually, what do you think is an option or is an advice for our viewers to prevent illness?
Well, obviously, healthy diet, so they provide a balanced diet, and as well minerals and vitamins. Very often people go for fast-losing diets. For example, if you talk about weight control, for fast-losing diets, because they are impatient and they believe that they should, the fat that has been accumulated for a long period of time should be lost in very short period of time. Because that's not the way. Because they don't, not only because they don't have the patience, because they are so anxious to lose and go back to the previous lifestyle. Actually, diet is a lifestyle. It's not a 6-week diet, which is usually deprivation, calorie intake that is normally lower than normal. It has to be always balanced. Your food has to be balanced, has to give you enough nutrients so you live healthy, well-adjusted life. If you deprive your system from certain nutrients, you will suffer for it and you will create diseases. Of course, your weight will go down, but it will cost you a lot. So what I advise is to adjust your lifestyle to see where you may be making a mistake and slowly, gradually implement new ideas and stay with it. Because if you go for 6-week diet or 8-week diet and then hope that you will go back to the previous diet that caused this problem in the first place, it doesn't work. And many ladies are disappointed in weight control, and you see the results that many ladies are overweight. They cannot reach their perfect weight because they go a wrong way about it.
So it's the wrong intake. They deprive themselves of so many things that they should be taking, and they want to lose weight fast, which does not work, because you lose it fast, you gain it back fast.
Exactly.
Okay, now that we actually said ladies, Mrs. Maria, okay, and we did take an example of nutrition, which was weight control, maybe we can go on to other women-related topics. What women can do, actually.
Okay. I would like to give to our viewers 2 tips that I advise to most of my clients, and I go by this. One is try to choose produce that is as fresh as possible and as close to natural form as possible. So you don't use produce that men cleaned, or like, for example, white flour or white sugar. God-given produce is the most beneficial to us because it contains the most minerals and vitamins and is a wholesome food. Of course, we will get some produce that is full of chemicals. We cannot avoid it. Now, when you say life close to nature, we cannot live in a village. Okay? So we have to have certain amount of toxicity in our system, but we can still do the best choices from what is available around us.
Okay, so basically try to eliminate products that have been treated by chemicals, or have been
colors, preservatives, chips, whatever has been manufactured by men and altered. It's not so beneficial to our system.
So we should try to avoid it as much as possible.
We should try to avoid it as much as possible, yes.
So for instance, let's just give our viewers an example. Instead of going for white flour, they can go for
brown flour. Definitely brown flour, yes.
And the
brown bread, brown rice, or sugar, brown sugar or honey, and really limit your sugar as much as you possibly can, because sugar binds calcium, and calcium is one of the most minerals in our system, and that lack of calcium causes a lot of diseases. Therefore, one should be very careful with sugar intake.
Okay, so for all the women that do like a lot of sweets, they should find a substitute for their sugar, like maybe honey, as you just mentioned.
Honey is excellent, yes, but honey should not be used in hot water, like some people do, because it kills the natural ingredients of honey. And use honey in moderation. I mean, honey is still sugar, but it's a healthy sugar. Right?
So basically everything in moderation is okay. Of course not everything, but usually if you take regular small quantities of everything, you're fine.
I would say that animal fat should not be considered.
Of course,
probably small amounts of it, but it's not necessary for our health. However, there are some essential fatty acids that are necessary for our health, and we should ingest them. Johanna Badwick of Germany highly recommends flaxseed, and I do too.
Okay, so what is flaxseed?
It's a seed. Very similar to sesame seed, but it's brown, and it contains two essential fatty acids. One is called linolenic and one is called linoleic. And these fatty acids are needed for proper metabolism of fat, fat which you already accumulated. So in order to burn the fat that you already have, you need essential fatty acids to properly assimilate and burn the fat. Definitely. You cannot avoid ingesting these fats, but you can definitely do without animal fats. And people are so used to eating a lot of fats. Now, of course, they are more aware and they trim their meat from excess fat, but they still eat margarine, and margarine is man-made produce. See, it does not exist in nature. Margarine is made from liquid oil in a special process that solidifies fat, and during this process so-called trans fatty acids are made, which are detrimental to our system. We simply do not digest them. So margarine that was so popular some time ago is not for us.
It's not popular
no, it's maybe it's popular for those who don't understand the problem with it. Now, a little bit of butter is probably all right, and fats like all kinds of seeds and nuts are excellent for you, but not roasted and not salted, raw. Nuts have wonderful oils, and so do seeds. And sesame seed is excellent because it contains calcium, and actually in this part of the world you have very good habit of eating tahina. I don't know if I pronounced it properly. Tahina, yes. Yes, it's a produce from sesame seed. Tabbouleh is excellent, hummus is excellent, as beans contain phosphor and they are also very beneficial for our health. And vegetables, fruits, vegetables, of course,
are excellent for the human body.
Yes.
Now, what about women with a lot? Now, we just spoke about nutrition in general, and what, of course, the list goes on, Mrs. Muriel. I'm sure there are do's and don'ts, and you know, maybe a lot of women should read more about this. But because we have very limited time, maybe we can move on to other topics. Like maybe another thing is face and skin problems.
Yes. Most ladies go for facials, and this is a cleansing of the skin. Now, I have nothing against massage and masks. These are very beneficial, but squeezing pimples and breaking the skin is definitely against my belief. There are very simple ways of exfoliating your skin. I will give you an example. You can use white sugar, which is the best for that reason. You wet your hands and then touch sugar, it will stick to your hands, and then gently massage around your face. Don't press it too hard so you don't break the skin. After gentle massage, you wash off the sugar, and you will exfoliate your skin very cheaply, and it is very beneficial. No need to buy any of the products on the market. And then you use very simple masks. Natural, yes. Honey is wonderful, yogurt is wonderful. There are many recipes for masks, and your skin will look very well. Of course, you have to understand that your food is still the most important. If you eat wrong, of course, definitely. If you eat wrong, you will not achieve the best results. Even with masks or massage or whatever you may do, if you eat a lot of fats and candies, chocolate, like many people do here, then you will have problems with the skin.
So it's not necessarily, a lot of people do believe, okay, I'm just going to use masks every day and exfoliate and do this and do that. It will give you perfect skin if your diet is not proper.
Not at all. And I see many ladies going for facials, believing that this is the answer, but this is not the answer. I mean, pamper yourself. I have nothing against it. If it pleases you, then do so. Don't let anybody touch your face and break the skin. Squeeze pimples, not really necessary. But remember to eat well.
That's the most important.
The most important, definitely drink enough water, eat fruits and vegetables. Don't indulge in sugar and chocolate, and you will have very good results.
Wonderful. I just might like to remind our viewers once again that we are coming to you live, and our phone numbers are going to be scrolling on our screens as we speak right now.
Now, Shema, if I may interrupt, since we talk about skin, we mentioned facials and skin on our face. All skin diseases are reversible by proper nutrition and herbal remedies, all skin diseases. And actually, using cortisone, that is very popular in many parts of the world, including Kuwait, of course, is very detrimental to our health. Very often people use cortisone to suppress skin diseases. And once I had a client whose hip was dissolved because of overuse of cortisone. So cortisone is so detrimental to our health. And I want to warn our viewers against overuse of it, and actually to think very well before they start using it at all.
Cortisone.
Yes.
Mrs. Maria, I believe we have a phone call. Hello. Hello. Good evening.
Well, I'd like to thank you for this great episode.
Thank you very much. May I have your name, please?
My name is Khalifa.
Khalifa, good evening.
Good evening to you, and good evening to Miss Maria.
Good evening.
Well, I have two questions, actually. The first one is, there are some kinds of food that contain specific nutritional ingredients that may conflict with each other. For example, bananas are used to cure diarrhea, and some vegetables are causing diarrhea. So what are the tips or, let's say, tricks to avoid this conflict? I mean, this is one question. The other question is, we have an old belief that you cannot eat fish and drink milk together. So this has this something to do with allergy or something?
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Khalifa, for your phone call.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Okay. To answer your question, there are certain foods which should not be eaten together. Like fruits and vegetables should not be combined because they cause gases. Fruits are digested in the small intestine and vegetables in your stomach. So if you have food in your stomach already, fruits will not pass freely to small intestine and will not be digested well, which will create gases. There's only one fruit, an apple, which can be mixed with vegetables. Other fruits, no.
Okay.
Now, banana, of course, we all hear that it helps in diarrhea, and other fruits in different health problems. But there is no problem in mixing different fruits at the same time. Only don't mix fruits and vegetables other than apple and apple.
So generally speaking, Mrs. Maria, you should not mix different food groups at the same time, or you can, like, let's say carbohydrates and let's say proteins, or carbohydrates and, you know, like combinations are okay and some combinations are not?
That's true.
Okay.
But it's very difficult to change the old habit of eating protein and carbohydrates together. Now, it is better to eat them separately. It is better to eat proteins and carbohydrates separately with vegetables. However, that is very difficult to change. Now, the best is to eat simple meals. What we usually do is we have so many things at the same time, and that creates difficulty in digesting. So as simple as possible. Have, let's say, some vegetables and brown rice. This is so easy to digest. You will feel light. After that, you can have a small amount of mint tea. Don't drink too much after your meals, also because you're diluting digestive juices. Drink before, drink a little bit after if you have to, but not during your meals. Now, if you go to restaurants here, you see that people drink a lot of water with their meal. This is not really recommended.
Right.
It dilutes the digestive juices and your digestion is jeopardized.
And what about fish and milk?
Yes, it is not proper.
Why?
Yes, I don't really know the depth of it, but I think it causes indigestion
as well.
And yes, I do not believe in cow's milk as being good for your system.
Okay, so that's so there are no specific reasons why, but it's not a good combination.
It's not a good combination. No.
Okay. Well, Mrs. Maria, I believe we have another phone call. Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Good evening.
Good evening, Shaima.
How are you?
Fine.
Great. Can I have your name, please?
My name is Noel.
Noel?
Yeah, I know that is this special program for ladies, but
you're always welcome. Don't worry.
I have a question for Dr. Maria.
Sure.
Actually, I have a sickness called migraine. So actually, I have visited so many doctors, and they said there is no such a cure for medicine for migraine. I just wanted to know for any cure in a doctor's way, if there is any example what type of medicine I have to take. I just wanted to know because I'm suffering for 5 years.
I'm so sorry for you.
Okay.
Of course there is a cure.
Thank you, Noel, for your
Thank
phone
you very
call.
much.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Of course there is a cure, definitely.
Natural
I
remedy.
thank you, Noel, for your question. There is a natural remedy, but you see the habitual question is what kind of medicine should I take? So we all believe that there is certain medicine that will cure us. This is not medicine. What you need to do is detoxify your system, look at your lifestyle, and I will help you with this. We can see what you may be doing wrong to create toxicity in your system, because migraine is toxicity that appears in a form of, this is a symptom, like Hippocrates said, symptoms are very important to our system. It's like a red light.
It's like a sign telling you something's wrong with me.
Bravo, exactly. And if we suppress them, then we can never eliminate the cause. Now what I would suggest, we look at our lifestyle. Now, you may not be able to do this alone because you don't have the experience.
Right.
But I understand quite well the connection between migraine and your lifestyle, and I may be able to help you. And if we eliminate what you're doing wrong, you will get rid of your migraine.
Okay, I just want to tell our viewers, Mrs. Maria, that if they have any questions, any further questions for anybody that could not call in, please feel free to email us, fax us, and I will get the faxes or emails through to Mrs. Maria. Or you can call in after the show, and we'll be more than pleased to give you Mrs. Maria's number. We're going to take another caller. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, good evening.
Hello, good evening to you.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. And hello to Dr. Maria.
Hello.
Yeah. I have a question. I am anorexic.
Ouch.
Yeah, and I've been taking a lot of medicines already to overcome this sickness, but until now I'm underweight. So is there any remedy for that? You can suggest any.
Right. Jane, you're anorexic?
Yeah.
For how long now?
It's been about 5 years already.
5 years.
Yeah, and I'm already in my 40s. I'm already 42. And I find it very hard to get the proper medicine for that, and also the proper food or the fruits or whatever, because I don't want to eat meat. I prefer vegetable and fish.
So you're a vegetarian?
Not really,
okay,
but I prefer vegetable.
Okay.
And I just eat a little bit of meat. So is there anything you can suggest for that?
Okay, thank you very much, Jane.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you. Of course, there are simple remedies. It's very difficult to give the program off the air, and I don't want to give her hope by giving her one tip, because if I just give her one suggestion, it will definitely not cure.
Right.
Now, what I can say in general is that we need to support her nervous system, and that is done by providing proper amount of vitamin B complex. Calcium also is very relaxing for the nervous system, and there are certain elements that we need to look into to cure her condition. I believe that all is curable, but I need to have more information about the patient. Usually when a patient comes to my office, I sit about 1 hour. I ask certain questions about the lifestyle, so I base my remedy upon that. It's very difficult to say proper remedy in 1 minute.
Right. Well, Mrs. Maria, unfortunately, we've nearly come to the end of our interview, and we had so many things to talk about, but we were receiving callers from our viewers. But I just want you to give, of course, we will, if anybody has further questions, we will have Mrs. Maria, you can call us in after the show. We'll have Mrs. Maria's number for you if you'd like to speak to her after that for any consultation, or you can email us and fax us. But Mrs. Maria, as I said at the beginning of our interview, this is the subject we can talk about for hours and hours. Do you have any last words for our viewers? Because we had a male viewer, I won't say for our ladies, but for our viewers in general.
Yes. I would like to say that most of the diseases, I mean actually probably all of the diseases are reversible with proper treatment. You just need persistence and you need to follow certain instructions, but you will eventually get balance and you will enjoy good health, including cancer. We did not mention this, and I would like to stress it out, that it is possible to, I should perhaps not say cure, but reverse cancer. I have succeeded several times, and I'm quite certain of my way of my approach for this dreadful disease. This is a natural way of treatment without any side effects, and the results are marvelous.
Well, that's wonderful, Mrs. Maria, and of course, you know, there's so much, as I said before, that considering cancer is one of the most fatal diseases of our century right now, then you know, this is actually a great accomplishment that you've managed to do. As you said, you had a few cancer cases that you've managed to cure or reverse the effect of the cancer. So that's wonderful. And maybe if anybody would like to know more about this, please feel free to either email us or fax us or call in once again for Mrs. Maria's number. Thank you very much for being with us tonight.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, we did not cover most of the things.
I prepared so much for the ladies.
But we hope to have you again on the show for all of our women out there, all of our viewers, because we do have male viewers right now, I just noticed. Thank you very much, Mrs. Maria.
Thank you.
And now we're going to go to another healthy way of life. And this is coming up is our exercise segment, and of course with you is your own personal instructor, Coach Ray, and today of course he has very few useful tips for us tonight. And as I said before, it's thanks to Le Méridien Hotel Kuwait for providing us with this segment. And now why don't we go and join Ray together.